Welcome to What Am I Looking At, a podcast from the Department of Art and Design at Arkansas State University. My name is Dr. Catherine Baker, and I'm a professor specializing in the history of medieval and early modern art. Throughout this series, each presenter will be giving you insight into works of art from across history that are in some way unusual, sometimes strange, sometimes hard to understand. So let's get to today's dive into the visual world on your radio. A 15th century manuscript page currently in the British Library presents a moment of strange activity in an incredibly refined space. Along the walls of the vaulted room hang numerous tapestries of sumptuous red and luxurious blue. On the left side of the composition, beautifully dressed members of the court sit in their finery on a dais. On the right side, we see two figures who have just entered the room holding tall torches, with a platform of musicians directly above them. In the center, four figures gesticulate wildly, legs and hands angled in a variety of directions. Covered from ankles to wrists in what looks like curly gray hair, at first glance, one assumes we're seeing dancers respond to the music from above. And then we see the flames. Each figure has golden tendrils of fire spreading across the gray hair, which we understand as costumes once we notice the figure closest to the picture plane is pulling open the gray hair to reveal the skin underneath. At his feet lies a club, an attribute that identifies the costume as a wildman, which means we're looking at the Bal des Ardents, one of the strangest moments from French royal history. On January 28, 1393, a masquerade ball was held by the court in Paris. Nominally arranged to celebrate the marriage of a lady-in-waiting, the ball was also a means of distracting the King Charles VI, whose doctor had advised that pleasure and fun and as little governing as possible would help alleviate the symptoms of insanity he had been experiencing. 6 months before, while on military campaign, the king had appeared to have lost touch with reality and turned on his own knights, thinking they were the enemy, killing 4 men. When back in Paris, he began to think he was made of glass and had periods where he couldn't recognize his wife, Isabeau of Bavaria. When distracted, the symptoms seemed improved, and the court devised numerous events to amuse the king. The ball on the 28th was one of those occasions, and was to feature a diversion where courtiers dressed up as wild men and performed a dance. The group, which included the king himself, were costumed in resin-soaked linen with flax attached to simulate the hair of the mythic forest occupants. An order forbid the lighting of torches during the performance, but the king's brother entered late after much drinking holding a tall torch. And you know what happened next. The king survived the fire by being smothered under the skirts of the Duchess of Berry, a moment of rescue we can see in the illustration, his tiny head poking out amongst the ladies on the dais. The rest of the group were not so lucky, and all but the king and another dancer who jumped in a vat of wine perished. So much for the Bal des Ardents, or the Ball of Burning Men. What Am I Looking At is provided by KASU in collaboration with the Department of Art and Design at A-State. Stay tuned next week for another exploration of art over your airwaves.